You are now muted. 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 You are now muted.
Check tes. Hello everyone. Hello team. Are you online?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you team for your time and hello everyone. Thanks for joining into this workshop. Check tes. Today team will share about inking with Inkscape. Hello everyone. And maybe we will start about 10 minutes again online. Okay team?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
Okay,
10 minutes.
thank you. We can wait. Some call might be still trying.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes, thank you. And here we have about 15 participants join with us, and maybe it will add more. And we also stream this workshop into Gimpscape YouTube channel. Uh, I share the link, and please share to uh, everyone you want about this link, so everyone can join with us in YouTube channel. Maybe I will share this link into Facebook first. Uh, YouTube channel for your time and hello everyone. Thanks for joining into this workshop. Check this. Today, Tim will share about inking with Inkscape. Hello everyone. And okay. By the way, for everyone, if Tim share the workshop or giving a workshop, you can ask about how to about the step or anything in the chat, and please just ask via live chat. You can access it. Uh, Tim, are you ready? Hello?
Yeah,
Yeah,
whenever you
whenever
are.
you
Yeah.
are. Yeah. Okay. We can start now.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. You have access to presentation.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna turn on screen sharing now.
Share now. Okay. You can share now and open your video. By the way, for everyone,
Hello,
if
everyone.
things
Just
that
thought I'd say hi, let you see who I
obviously
am.
are giving a
I'll
workshop,
turn off the camera
you
because
can
it might
ask
pinch too much bandwidth.
about how to about the step or anything in the chat, and please
Okay.
just ask via.
Well, thanks everyone.
Hello?
Yeah, whenever you are joining us today, and thanks for inviting me along to the workshop.
Okay.
It's a great pleasure
you
to
have
be
access
here,
to
and I'm really looking
presentation.
forward to doing this. So,
Yeah,
inking with Inkscape.
turn on screen
Please
sharing.
bear in mind this is my
You
way
can
of doing things. It might not be suitable for everyone. As you can see on the screen, I've got my reference image. So this is the picture that inspired my latest drawing. This is something I'm working on now. From that, I use a 3D doll app called Easy Pose, and I create a 3D model. So I'm not drawing directly from this image. I create my own image, and then from that I will create a sketch drawing, which you can see here in the center of the screen. But you can see that I don't actually trace over the image. What I use them as reference only. So it's really easy to just think, right, I'm going to draw around the outline with the Bezier tool and copy exactly. That's a really bad idea. You shouldn't do that. Just use it as visual reference. Always try and draw yourself. If you get caught in the habit of tracing over images, you'll never learn to draw. You'll never get any better. So you can see how rough and scratchy my picture is. And that's perfectly fine. Don't worry about how scruffy your sketch is. It's literally a sketch. Right, so from there, oh, and this sketch, I've got that set as a multiply layer. You can see that up here. So that means it becomes transparent. You can see through it, and it will always be visible. And then I draw underneath that layer, so I can always see my sketch. So I'm not drawing over the top. I'm drawing underneath it, so I can always see my lines, which is really useful. But make sure you lock that layer so you don't actually accidentally draw on it. Okay, so that's the reference pictures. Next stage is I will create a character group with sublayers. And then the first thing I do, let me just turn these off, is I create a silhouette. So I just use the Bezier tool, draw around my sketch, create a silhouette, and this has two uses. It can be used as a clipping mask. So if you want to do shading with blur, you can then clip that blur and create nice sharp edges and have soft blurred shadows or coloring effects within the shape, but it's clipped nice and sharp on the outside. But the main thing I use this for is as an outline. So you can see I've got a dark outline. So the way I create that is to select it, go to path, dynamic offset, and then you can see I can make my outline as thick or as thin as I like. And I've got some bit of artifacts coming on there for some reason. There we go. There we go. So we've got a nice outline, which is sort of the traditional comic book look, which is what I'm going for in this picture. Now I use a Wacom tablet, a pen tablet, for doing most of my drawing, which means if I select the calligraphy tool, I can draw with pen pressure. So I can have thin lines, I can have thick lines. Let's get a better pen. So you can see I've got complete freedom. It's like drawing with a pencil. But I will show how you can do all of this with a mouse. So it's nice and easy. So if you want to draw with a mouse, you can create a brush in the same way as the calligraphy tool, you can create a brush. So if I zoom in, if I'm going too fast, just shout out in the comments and I'll slow down. So what you do is you create a shape, use a Bezier tool, just create a shape with some nice jaggedy lines, fill that with black, turn off the stroke. You then copy that, Control C to copy that into the clipboard, and then use the pen tool and set it to from clipboard. And then when you draw, you're drawing with a brush, and you can do that with the mouse as well. So you just click, press N for the node tool here, and then you can just move your lines around, and it gives you the effect of having a nice ink pen. So if you've not got a Wacom tablet or any access to anything like that, it doesn't matter. You can use a mouse quite easily, and then you can set the thickness just by pulling the node out sideways. Just for reference, I'm using Inkscape 0.92.5, and the reason I'm using that as opposed to the new 1.0 is because at the moment the eraser is broken, but that has already been fixed. The fabulous Dr. Mo, or Martin Owens, has fixed that for me already. I spoke to him the other day and he said, yeah, I'll get on with that and I'll fix it. And he has. So that should be coming in the next release of Inkscape, which should be 1.1 sometime in the early part of next year. So let me just get rid of these scribbles. And let's zoom in on something that's going to be a little bit easier to deal with. So I will start by picking up the calligraphy tool. Make sure, let me show you how to create different size pens, because you might notice here that I've got different pens that you haven't got. For example, I've created a pencil which has got, drawing in a line from the side, didn't want that, which has got sort of wobbly lines, so it looks like a 2B pencil. Let me just show you how to do that. So if you go into calligraphy and you start with, let's say, the dip pen, I always turn thinning off, I turn fixation off, basically turn everything off, turn the mass up because I need a bit of drag, which just smooths out the line. And then you can set the thickness to anything you want. So you can have a nice thin to thick line. And then what you do then is this little cog, you click on that and you give that brush a name. So we'll call it Ink Pen 005, and we save that. Now in the drop down, you'll see we've got Ink Pen 005. So that's a really quick way of saving your own design pens. That's something that I don't think there's any documentation on. I just discovered it by accident. So back in there, select my pen. I remember which one I was using. That one, yeah. Okay, so for me now, it's just a case of make sure I'm in the right layer. And I would just go around and basically freehand some lines, concentrating on thick to thin. And it's literally just a case of being really loose. Now it's just a case of oh right, sorry, the drop down's not available. Right, reshare your screen with monitor share, not window share. Let me try that. Okay. Entire screen. That's going to show both screens. I can't do that, unfortunately. It's going to show. I've got two monitors. And it's going to become really wide. Okay. Let's go back to that one. Oh, I do apologize about that. I'm sorry. Oh, I see. Yeah, the drop down doesn't show. Oh, that's annoying. Right. Does that show? No, that doesn't show. Right. What can we do about that? Right. So this button here, this cog, when you click on that, you basically get a box open up, and there will be a little window there, and you type the name of your brush. So you call it ink pen. Goodness me, my writing's terrible. Ink pen, and then you click OK, and that then is saved up into this drop-down dialog. It's really, really simple. It's self-explanatory and very quick to do. Sorry about that. I hope that explains that a little bit better. What a shame. Didn't realize that. Let's get a slightly bigger pen. So let's switch over to doing some inking with a mouse. So I'm currently using the mouse now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the freehand lines tool or the pencil tool. And now I'm going to change it to triangle in. So if I draw a line there and it's set to fill with no stroke, you can see you can do freehand or you can do straight lines. Then click up the node tool and you'll see you've got two nodes there. You've got, can't see what color that is, like a light blue and then a pink purple node. This purple node controls the thickness of your line. And you can add extra purple nodes by pressing Control and left click on that node. And you think nothing's happened, but what it's done is it's put a new node over the top. And you can just pull that out, and now you've got two nodes. I'll create a third one by holding down Control and left clicking, and now you can see you could vary your line weight. So if we bear that in mind, what I'll do is I will pick up the freehand tool, and let's go from this point here, click. I'm going to click on the end because I want to create a continuous line to go around. Here we go, just pick it up and finish back there. I'm going to press N on the keyboard, which selects the node tool. And I'm then going to drag my line. Come on, there we go. Fit this to the shape. And then by clicking Control, left click on the purple node, I can bring out another weighted option. Do another one. So I hope you can see that you can control your variable line thickness the same way as you would with a Wacom tablet, but you're literally just using the mouse. So there's a few more clicks involved, but once you get used to it, it becomes really, really quick. So I'll do it again. So pick up the freehand tool, pencil tool, sets a triangle in. Let's see if we can do this line around here. So I'll click at the beginning, click at the end, press N on the keyboard for the node tool, this one, and just pull the line to where I want it to be. You can either use the handles or just drag the line. Makes no difference. And then we can just set our thickness, add another node, Control, left click, and pull the node away. Control, left click, pull the node, and there we go. I just create a square end on that side and bring that one around to create a square end on that side. So you can see that that looks exactly the same as if I had drawn it with the Wacom tablet. Does anybody have any questions so far? Does that make sense to everyone? Hopefully it does. Right, so let's carry on then. So I'm going to pick up my pen because that's what I'm used to using. S on the keyboard to select. And C on the keyboard for the calligraphy tool. I'm going to go back to pen 3, which is a finer pen. And you'll notice that I'm literally just using these lines as a reference. I'm not deliberately following them in any way. If I happen to hit the line, great. If I don't, I'm not worried. They are literally just for reference. And then if I turn off the sketch, you can see what we're left with. Thanks, Rania. Yeah, if you've got any questions, put them in the box there, and I'll do my best to answer them. I'm going to go back to pen 3, which is a finer pen. And you'll notice that I'm literally just that's something I didn't mention. I always set up the guides to create a rule of thirds. So you can see the blue lines. Those are just these guides. And you just divide your canvas, this grey area, up into 3 equal parts, going horizontally and vertically. And then you try to line up your the action on these axes. So the eye closest to the viewer, which would be this one, you try and get on the line, and line of action you try and get through here. So you can see that the main action from his arms are going through here, and the resting leg is going through here. So this makes this a balanced picture. You can see that his arms are creating sort of a figure of 8, so that's drawing your eye around to the image with the focal point, which is his face, and obviously this will be an orb, a power orb of some description. And then you can see what I've done is I've pulled the tie over the arm, so that brings your eye down to this leg, which then brings you around, and so hopefully your eye is moving around the image and taking you through everything. And that's really useful, using this rule of thirds to position your image so the viewer's eye is always traveling around the picture. Right, let's get on with some more inking. Zoom back in and get on with the ink job. Right, so slightly thicker pen there, I think. And these will be shaded folds in the denim. So the more haphazard it is, the better, really. So you don't have to be precise. You just literally creating free-flowing shapes. So I'm moving the canvas there by using the middle mouse button or one of the keys on my pen, but the middle mouse button will do the same. So on your the scroll wheel on your mouse, if you press that down, you can move the canvas. And just get these folds in. And something else I wanted to show. So these muscle lines, what you'll see in comics is you'll see this type of thing, hatching lines. So you can do that with a tablet really easy. Let me zoom in. And look at the tool. You can do that with a tablet really easy. But you can also do it with a mouse. So if we create a shape with the Bezier tool, and fill that with black, resize that down, rotate, then we can place it, and then using the space bar we can just stamp those images along. So I'm pressing space bar, I'm just creating, and what that does is that gives you that sort of graduated effect. Bear in mind I'm sort of rushing a bit here, so I would normally take a bit longer to do all that. So let me see, we would try and curve those to match the curve of the body. And you can put a curve, if you're using a mouse, you can create curved shapes and then just stamp them the way I did before. That's not a problem. Zoom out, see what that looks like. Yeah, that's looking good. And then you can use hatching lines as well. Just create hatching lines. So Alif is asking, what's the advantage of using vectors for inking? Basically, a vector is going to stay sharp with clean edges, whatever size you grow that image to or shrink that image. If you're using GIMP or Krita or Photoshop, you're drawing with raster. So you've got the edges of the lines are pixelated. If you need to blow that image up, the edges of those lines are going to become fuzzy and blurred. Whereas a vector image, you can increase the size. So if I wanted to draw this picture at poster size, but I've only drawn it at paper size, like an A4 paper size. If that was a raster image done in GIMP or Krita, and I tried to blow that up to poster size, it would become really pixelated and look horrible. Whereas using it in Inkscape, because it's vector, I can scale those images up to whatever size I want. So if I take that as a selection, and let me zoom out, and I blow that up really big, you can see that these edges are still really, really sharp. There's no pixelating going on at all. Whereas if that was raster, that would be really, really blurred. So that's the advantage of using vector. Hope that explains that as best I can anyway. Is there anything else that anyone wants to know? I can see some typing going on. That's my pleasure. Thank you for asking the question. That was a really good question, actually. If anyone's got any more questions, please ask away. This is something that I do all the time, so it's really hard for me to know what you guys want to know. So please ask away. Otherwise, I'll just carry on drawing away. Let's see if we can do a bit on the hand. You notice I'm avoiding doing the face because faces are difficult, and I find that I need to warm up quite a bit before I tackle a face, which is why I tend to sort of do the feet, hands, body parts first, and then usually leave the face till after I've been drawing for about an hour or so, and you warm up, the lines start to flow a lot easier. So again, this is just a case of come round, change my pen, go a bit thinner. Yep. And again, you're not trying to mimic exactly, you're just trying to get the essence of what you've sketched. And correct any mistakes that you've made along the way. Drawing parts that are missing. And never Control Z. You've got the undo option there, so it's never a case of that's it, it's permanent. And if you happen to draw a line that doesn't quite match, well, because it's vector, you can move that line, you can rotate the line, and you can make it work. It's as simple as that. You can even drag the line out and make it match up, he says as it glitches, which is always the way when you're doing something live. So that's another reason why I like using vector, because especially on these long sweeping lines, it means that you can, rather than having to draw things over and over and over again, which you have to do with something like GIMP or Krita. So if you draw a line, if you don't get the line in the right place, you have to Control Z, do it again, Control Z, do it again, Control Z, do it again. Whereas with vector, you just pick that line, pop it down, move it round, and there you go. You've got your line in place and it's perfect. It's so much easier. But then when you've finished with your line, you can then export that as a transparent PNG, put it into GIMP or Krita or whatever software you're using, and then create layers underneath that line art, and you can paint with GIMP, paint with Krita, whichever, but you just use Inkscape for the line art. Is so much easier. Carry on. Oops, didn't like that one. Just bring the opacity of that down a little bit, I think, so I can see my lines a bit easier. Make sure I'm on the right layer to draw. Are there any other questions? So Alif is asking another question. I want to ask again, is there any way to create effect in vector program like color dodge? And you have got, now I won't be able to show you because of the way that the screen shares, but the blend modes here, you can see it's set to normal. I don't think it's going to, no, it won't show. But if you click on that, you've got all different types of blending modes, and you can actually set the layer to different attributes, like this sketch layer. Let me just zoom back out. This sketch layer here, this one, this is set to multiply. So this original sketch was on a solid grey background like this, and this was a pencil sketch on a solid grey background. I actually drew it in GIMP, actually. Used GIMP to draw this on a solid grey background. I then brought that into Inkscape on its own layer, as you can see here, and then set that layer to multiply. It makes the image semi-transparent, and then anything that I draw underneath it, you can still see the line. So you could actually set one of the layers to dodge or burn, and it will have that effect. It will actually, anything drawn on that layer will have the dodge effect. I don't think there's a way to actually paint with dodge the way you would in GIMP. That's a little bit beyond what this program is for. But as I said, there's no reason why you couldn't take your line art that you've done in Inkscape, import that into GIMP. GIMP supports SVG, or you could export as PNG, and then you can do your painting in GIMP or Krita, whichever software you prefer to use. Let's just get back to that. Hope that answers that question. Yep. All right, let's see. What were we doing? Oh, we were on the arms. Go back. Let's tackle this arm. So C on the keyboard changes to calligraphy tool. Just check I got the right. No, not on the right layer. There we go. Helps to be on the right layer. And oh yeah, that's something I've probably not mentioned. You can see here I've got this. Alif is saying thank you. That's great. Thanks, Alif. Another really good question. Thank you for that. That's a really good one. You can see here this layer group, character group, sorry, and everything under that is within this character group. And so you can add layers when you click the plus to add a layer, and it's not going to show the dialog, right? So basically you click add layer and you get, ooh, come on. So you get a box pop up, a little menu box. Can't remember what it looks like now. Layer name, position, right. So you get a box there. and you get a box there, and you've got layer, name. Oh goodness me, I'm rubbish at writing. Layer name and then group, and you can set that to be put the layer above the existing layer, to put it below, or you can put it inside. So basically you're creating a group of layers inside a master layer, and that's what that triangle means there. It means that I've put layers inside to create a closed group. And the advantage to that is that you can turn off whole sections of work in one go. Let me just zoom out so you can see that. So if I turn off the visibility of this character group, you can see that the outline, the colors, everything disappears. It's all because it's inside the one master character group. And likewise, if I lock that master group, then nothing can be drawn on that layer. So if I pick up the calligraphy tool, I can't draw, I can't do anything because that master group is locked. So I need to make sure that's unlocked. Then when I click on an inside layer, then I can draw. So it's really useful for organizing your layers, keeping everything sorted. It means that you can also move an entire stack very easily. So if I wanted to move that stack below the background layer, I can pick up the entire stack of that group and move it in one go, rather than having to move half a dozen layers individually, which is really, really useful. Hope I've explained that well enough. So what else do we need to show? Let's get rid of my scribble. You don't need that. What else was there? Get back to doing some of this. So a lot of this is just repetitive line work. I really enjoy it. I find it really therapeutic. You can just lose yourself in the movement. As I say, you don't need to worry about having expensive equipment. As long as you've got a mouse and a keyboard, you can do everything that I'm doing. You do it in a different way, as I showed earlier on. You just do it with clicks instead of dragging the image out. And a lot of this will be, these lines are, I'm just putting in as placeholders at the moment. A lot of these lines will go because they will be replaced with shadows and gradient color fills. But for now, they're just in there just to mark where things are on the image. And that's another thing. I mean, never think that just because you've put a line there, it's got to stay there. Drawings are very fluid, you know, let them evolve. And if you change your mind on something, move it. Don't think, oh no, I put it there, so it's got to stay there. Never be afraid to erase something, move it. It doesn't matter. Just go with the flow. You can see that's an example of me not quite drawing the line correctly, but I'm able to manipulate the line because it's a vector. So that can save a lot of time. And quite a lot of professionals use vector software to create their line art. again, some of these lines would disappear because they would be taken up with actual shadows. I'm just using them as reference for where creases will be. And unless anyone's got any more questions, I think that's probably as much as I can show you. It's really just a case of enjoy yourself. Try not to copy exactly images. Don't trace around. Draw. And don't worry how scruffy your drawing is, because it's only you that's going to see it. You can manipulate that scruffy drawing to fabulous art. Use vector, use the power of Inkscape, and enjoy yourself and create some fabulous art and put it out in the world. So I think, unless anyone's got any more questions, I think that's it from me. And thank you very much for your time. Rania, do you add? I think there's a question coming in. I'm not sure if there's anything else that I wanted to explain, but if there's no more questions, we'll probably call it a day there. I'm sorry I don't have a completed picture to show you, but as I said at the beginning, this is something that I'm currently working on. This is a new project, so I'll be sure to let you know when it's finished. I hope everyone's learnt something today. I hope it's been useful. I hope it's inspired you to go out there and draw something. Okay, so Alif is asking, when the inking is done, whether I leave the lines separate or put together. That's purely down to you. If you export as PNG, it becomes one solid piece anyway, whether you use a transparent background or a solid background. If you're exporting as an SVG, then you can either select all the ink lines. Whoops, apologies. You could select all the ink lines and press Control G on the keyboard to create a group, and then they will stay locked together. Or you could go up to Path and what is it? Union to to join them together, but that sometimes can cause issues. So I would probably just use Control G and group them. Then if you were going to export that as an SVG into GIMP, you know then that those lines are going to stay together. They won't suddenly go shooting off and being all jumbled up. But normally I just leave them as they are and export as a PNG if I'm going to color it in GIMP or Krita. Most of the time, though, I do everything in Inkscape. So I'll do all the coloring in Inkscape. I'll do all the shading in Inkscape. As I said at the beginning, I use a layer mask. So if I'm creating a blurred area, let me just show you quickly. If I draw a square and set that to just an outline, let's make the outline a bit bigger so you can see it. Right, and then if I right click on that, and you can't see the menu unfortunately, but you create a clip group. So you right click, there's an option there called create a clip group. And then what I can do then is I can draw inside. Why has that gone blocky? Oh, my Inkscape's just crashed. Typical. Oh dear, that's typical, isn't it? Right, let me just close that down and I'll open up a new window. Bear with me. Sorry about that. Just open up a new Inkscape. There we go. Hopefully. Yep, you can see that. Right, so back to where we were. Oh, that's a nice color. Right, so if I get rid of the color, we've just got that. Select tool, create clip group. So right click, create clip group. And then if I draw something, draw a shape inside, let's make it a circle. If I draw a circle inside, make it yellow, take off the border. Okay, yeah, got enter group. So you right click, create clip group, then you right click again and then enter group. That's confusing. Let me start again. Right. Create a shape. Let's give it an outline, take out the fill. Right click, create clip group. Right click again, enter group. Now I can draw a shape, fill it with a color. Oops. Now when I move that, you can see it gets automatically clipped. Now if imagine this was shading on an arm and I go into the fill and stroke dialog and I set that to blur. Now you can see how that blurred image is clipped nice and cleanly. So you can see that if you were shading an arm and you wanted a nice graduated shadow, you could use blur as a way to create that graduation, but keep the nice sharp edge to your picture. So that's a really good way of using that, and that's using a clipping group. And then, but you must draw it. You must start your drawing within that shape first. If you start drawing outside, it automatically throws you out of the group, and then you have to click enter group again. So I can draw another shape, change color. As long as I draw it within that group, it's clipped. But if I draw a shape outside, yeah, come on. Oh, let me move it. No, it won't draw it. So you must start drawing within the shape. I find that really useful, and that's one of the reasons why I create that silhouette, that black silhouette right at the very beginning as one of the first things I do, because then if I want to do any shading on the edges of the drawing, then I can use that clipping mask, duplicate it, send it to the top, create a clipping group, and then anything I draw in that will be cut off nicely like this. So if I put some blur on that one, you can see it clips really nicely. It creates a nice super sharp edge. That's really useful too. Are there any more questions? Ask away while you've got me here. This has been great fun. I hope we can do something like this again in the future. It's been really good. No questions? Let me bring it. If there's no more questions, then it might be a good time to wrap it up. We've been going for almost an hour. That's really good. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming along and listening to me ramble.
Oh,
Sorry, that was me. I accidentally clicked the wrong thing.
thank you. By the way, anyone have question about what Tim shared on this moment? Tim, by the way, I think it will better for sharing screen instead of sharing windows, because some dialogue box or some pop-up is not visible.
Yeah, the problem, I'll show you the problem I've got, and I don't know if there's a way around it. Let me just change the screen sharing option. So if I select entire screen and allow that.
Yes, this Firefox
see,
issue, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, it shows
Firefox,
my two screens.
we cannot choose which monitor
Yeah,
that we want to share.
That's a problem.
Still back until today.
I think next time what I'll have to do is disconnect the second monitor. I didn't realize that wasn't an option, so I do apologize to everyone for that. That was a mistake on my part. Next time, if we do this again, which I hope we do in the future,
sorry?
I'll remember. I hope we do this again in the future, and I'll remember to disconnect that second monitor, so we've just got the one. Then I'll be able to share the entire screen, and we'll get the menus to pop up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this Firefox bug, I think, because I see this problem in Firefox. What's the what in Firefox Bugzilla, but it's still they don't fix it, I think.
Right. Okay. Do you know if it has the same problem in Chrome?
I have poor connection today, sadly.
No worries.
By the way, Ting, what's the difficult part in inking process?
The amount of time it takes is literally that. Inking can be very time consuming. I hope I've shown that it's easy to do, that anyone can do it. It doesn't matter if you've got Wacom tablet, a Huion tablet, doesn't matter if all you've got is a mouse. Anyone can do inking in Inkscape. But it does take time. It takes patience. Some people don't like it. I absolutely love it. As I said, I find it really therapeutic. You can just switch off, put music on the headphones, and sit there. And I really enjoy it. I enjoy that more than coloring in the pictures. So I've got folders full of artwork that I've not finished. It's just got inked, and I've not gone any further because that's the thing I enjoy doing. And I hope that people listening have gathered that, that is a passion of mine, and I hope that's come across, and I hope I've inspired people to draw with Inkscape. It is an incredible tool. It's a free tool. It's free for everyone, forever, and I think it's amazing. Another question coming from Nana. Hi Tim, do you always do the inking at the last part after all the layers are done? No, I do the inking first. So basically, start off with the inspiration image. I always bring that in. So I've got something to look at, something to inspire me. Next, I create the 3D model, because that gives me a feeling of what it looks from all angles. I can rotate that model around and see whether the pose looks real or whether it looks really weird and off. And then once I've got that, then I'll do a pencil sketch or a digital pencil sketch in GIMP or Krita, whichever software I happen to be using at the time. I switch between the two. And then I'll just pull that rough image, that rough sketch into Inkscape, and then start inking over the top. I get all my line work done first, then I create a layer underneath that line work, and then I put the color on. So if you look, I've got this coloring here. So if I just unlock these, you can see that they're on separate layers. And so what I do is I try and keep everything separated, so I've got more control. And then once I've got these base colors blocked in, same as you would if you were painting in GIMP or Krita, I use the same process. So I do line art, layer underneath, block in colors, and then I start applying shadows and highlights. But what you'll see here is all these colors are desaturated colors. I like to start with desaturated colors, and that allows me to put highlights over the top and allows me to put shadows on as well. Whereas if you start with your bright daylight colors, there's nowhere for you to go with highlights. So I always desaturate my colors first. Then you can put your saturated highlights over the top and desaturated shadows on as well. And so for me, it's the same process, whether I'm using Inkscape, GIMP, or Krita. If I'm painting in GIMP or Krita, I use the same process as I do in Inkscape, exactly the same. So line art, blocking colors, desaturated colors, and then highlights and shadows on top of that, and I would keep all those layers separate. So I usually end up with about 20-30 layers, and I like to keep them all separate so I can go in, and if Inkscape starts to lag a little bit, I can switch off the visibility of things I'm not working on at the time, and that frees up some resources for Inkscape to concentrate on what I am working on. Hope that answers that question. That was a really good question, actually. Great questions coming in today, guys. Really enjoying the questions. Let me just turn off this double screen. I'll go back to the single screen. Here we go. Yeah, so I'll just, so you can see everything is on its own layer. And by having it on its own layer, you don't have to be super clean. You can go through other objects because things are going to go over the top. Like you can see the shirt cut through there, but then when I put the skin on, it blocks that out. So it saves a lot of time masking around different objects. Yeah, great question. I see Michelle's in the room. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Any other questions about the inking or coloring process that you'd like to hear about? So I'll just show you how I do shadows. So if I was going to put a shadow, and I would set the layer mode to multiply, because I want the color to darken, I'll pick the same color as the jeans. And so if I quickly go around this shape, and I will drop her that color, you can see it's gone much darker now. I've actually color picked the same color as the jeans, but because I've set the the blend mode to multiply, it's darkened it. I'll just turn off the border and let me pull this around to the shape that I want. And now I'll use the gradient tool, this one, and set it to linear, so straight line gradient, and then I'll pull the gradient out. Until I get the effect that I want. You can see that gives it a three-dimensional effect. It makes this part of material look higher than this. So it's creating that concave shadowed effect. And I'll just keep repeating that. Just quickly go around with the Bezier tool. Doesn't have to be anything wonderful. Make it up as you go along. Color drop. Remove the border. G on the keyboard gives you the gradient tool, and then just pull it out. Get your gradients going. And you can also select the same gradient up here. Again, we won't get the drop downs, but it gives you the last used gradient, so you can just click on there. You shared my Instagram. Thanks, Rania. And yeah, you just keep going with this sort of thing, and the same for the highlights. So what I would do then is I would create a new group. I call that highlights. You can't see this yet, but it will come up on the screen in a second. So I've created a highlight group, and then I will set the blend mode to screen. So screen has the opposite effect to multiply. Screen lightens a color. So then if I, for example, do this bit around here, where's it gone? Why have I got no border color? Ah, dear. The joys of doing things live. Doesn't want to let me do that. Let's put that back to normal for now. So I'm just going to do this for now just to get a shape in there. And I'm going to color drop the jeans. And then I'm going to set the multiply the blend mode to screen. You can see that it's created a lighter version of this color. So even though I've color picked rather, the denim, it's created a lighter color. So, dear, not doing too well here. Pick the gradient tool, and this time I'm going to go the opposite way. Because obviously if light is coming from this direction, from top to bottom, the light's going to hit this edge more than it's going to hit this edge. And so I can create a highlight there. And you can see, because the light's hitting the top of that piece of material, that fold, it's then casting a shadow there. Because the rule is, wherever there's a highlight, there has to be a shadow. It's simple as that. And if there's a shadow, there's got to be a highlight. It's a rule of physics. One can't exist without the other. And you literally just go through building up these highlights and shadows until you get the effect you want. Same as you would if you were painting. You just paint your highlights and shadows, but we're painting with Inkscape. And if you wanted to soften that highlight, you just select it, open up the fill in stroke dialog, and apply some blur. So that, in conjunction with the gradient tool, can give you some really nice effects. You can make things look as realistic or as cartoony as you like. Yeah, I do have a big stock of patience. Good question, Michelle. Michelle's asking how long it can take me to complete a piece like this. From start to finish, probably about 2 or 3 weeks, but that's not day in, day out. That'd be a couple of hours each day. Yeah, so upwards of about 60 hours, I would imagine. Yeah. But to me, it's enjoyable. It's relaxing. This is what I do to get away from the world. Um, so, you know, I really enjoy doing it. So with a full background as well, how would it take? So you're probably getting up to about 80 hours. It sounds a lot, but it's really not. Because when you think how long it takes people to create oil paintings, I mean, it can turn into weeks and months. And I look at this in the same way. For me, this is oil painting in Inkscape. I start off inking the way you would in painting software, and then I progress onto color blocking, highlights, shadows. So for me, this is a full painting process. A question from YouTube. Urbano is asking, hi Tim, I have a question. Which one do you prefer for coloring, with blending layer or use solid colors? I use a mix, to be honest. As I said, I start with solid colors, and then I'll use blending modes to help me with the highlights and shadows. It can be really difficult sometimes to know what solid color to choose for a shadow. So I tend to rely on the tools that I've got at hand. So if you've got digital tools, use them. If you've got blending modes, use them. There's some people say, oh, that's cheating. But to me, if the tools are there, they're there to be used. So use them. Use whatever's at your disposal. And that is the joy of digital drawing, digital painting. The tools are there. Use them. There is no cheating in digital art. It's just creating art. Hope that's answered that question. That was a really good question. Great to have a question from YouTube. That's really good. Excellent. Backgrounds can be a real pain for me. I'm not very good at drawing backgrounds. It's something that I have to work really hard at. I have to look at lots and lots of reference material. But again, never be tempted to just copy the reference material. Always make it your own. Reference material is simply that. It's a reference. It's not for you to copy one-to-one. Always gather as much reference material as you can, 20, 30 pictures, study them, look at them, and then use that as inspiration to draw your own. You know, and that is art, is what you draw. It's not one-to-one copying. You're not doing yourself any favors. You won't get any better yourself if you just copy. It's a good way to learn when you start. You know, nothing wrong with drawing over the top of someone else's picture, but never claim it as your own, you know. But yeah, draw yourself, and don't worry that it looks scribbly or rubbish. You can see my scribbly rubbish drawing, you know, and don't ever be confined to the first thing you can draw. You can see I've drawn the hair there, but I've moved it. You can see that I started with this inspiration picture. This is similar, but not the same as this pose. And then this one is not the same as this pose. So I'm just using them as inspiration, as reference. I'm not actually creating something to draw over or copy. It is a big temptation to just copy. I know it is, because it's easy. But no one said art was going to be easy. It's something that you have to work at every day, or as often as you can. And that's the only way you get better. I suppose I could do a bit about the hair. Some people struggle with hair. Let me pull in on that there. So hair, the way I do hair is really, really simple. What video is this thing? Yep. Go into a different layer. That one is. If I go on the hair layer and create one above, close some of these so I don't draw over the top. So hair, I'm picking up the freehand draw tool there, and I'm going to set smoothing to about 22. Set the fill. That down. So basically all I'm going to do is create some jagged shapes to represent the highlights and the shadows on the hair. So what you're looking for is the highs. So something that curves outwards is going to reflect highlights, and when it curves inwards, it's going to reflect a shadow. So let me grab the pencil. Click that. Draw shape a minute. Set that to none. There we go. That's what I wanted. So pencil tool set to none. I'm going to color drop that, and then I'm going to bring that up. I'm staying desaturated. I'm not bringing it into the colors too much. I'm staying desaturated. So let's do a highlight. And so basically all I would do is just draw jagged lines. Take off the outline. And that's basically all you're doing. Is you're literally just creating a shape. And try and go with the flow of the hair. For some reason, I think it's because I'm sharing my screen, it's not working the way it should. So apologies for that. Here we go. It's not remembering the last thing I did, so let me just double check that in the preferences. Last use start. Oh, silly me. Right, let's try again. There we go. And you can do this with the mouse. Here, if I pick up the mouse now, you just create shapes. All you're doing is creating blocks of color to represent the highlights in the hair. And then you do the same for shadows. And you just refine it until you get it to look like the way you want it to look. You just pick out the high points for where you want the highlights to be, and then do the opposite for where you want the shadows to be. And you just build, again, you just build it up layer upon layer until you get the effect you want. And that's it. There's nothing magical. Yeah, the worst thing you can do with hair is try and draw every single strand of hair. Think of hair as blocks of color. Some people say think of it as ribbons. So if you look at specifically manga art, they draw hair as ribbons, and then they do this sort of jagged highlights and stuff within those ribbons. And that's a really good example to use in your art. If you study manga, you get some really good inspiration from that, and you can bring that on into your realistic artwork as well. Anybody have any more questions? Michelle's asking, what's my biggest art inspiration? I do enjoy manga. I enjoy realism as well. And I suppose what I do is try and mix the two. So if you like, my art style is a mixture of realistic shading, but in a more manga style. So the last piece I did was the samurai girl, the schoolgirl with the samurai sword, and that was a mixture of realistic shading and anime influences, and I really enjoy that. But I got to give a really big shout out to my friend Sven Ebert. He's been a really big influence on me. The way he does his art, that really inspired me to improve mine. And it's really nice when you can find someone that inspires you and motivates you to do better in your own art. And but I suppose other influences, I take influences from everywhere. So on YouTube, I won't just look up how-tos for Inkscape. I follow people that do actual oil paintings, watercolors, people that do pencil drawings. I follow people that do digital art using Krita or Photoshop or GIMP. I get inspiration from anywhere and everywhere, because you can always learn something. And you can always learn something from people that are better than you. Because there will always be someone better than you, whatever stage you get to. And it's really good to take those influences and then try and put that into your own work. So, for example, I try to color my work in the way someone would paint with oil. And that's the way I approach my artwork, as if I was actually painting with oil. And I try to build my pictures up layer by layer. And I really enjoy it. I think it's great fun. It's a challenge. Lots of the fun is actually working out ways to do things. And that's what makes art fun for me. Excuse me. I hope that's answered that. I did ramble a bit on that one. I'm glad it was perfect. Any more questions? Well, you got me captive. Oh, that's lovely. Thanks. Nana is saying, thanks for sharing, and wait for my art on Instagram. That's lovely. Thanks very much. So this is a good exercise, what I'm doing now. is learning to graduate colors. So I've just drawn a circle, and now I'm going to try and create a sphere just by using colors. So let's start by picking a really light color. Imagine it's a nice sunny day. And then we're going to get some darker colors. Imagine it's there. So you can see the graduation. So already it's starting to look almost 3D. So if I hit Control and Shift, I can add new color stops. And then what we can do is put darker colors in. And we can just graduate the colors until we get to where we want to be. No, that's too bright. Here we go. No, don't like that. Here we go. Back into the warmer colors. And this is a good exercise. Here we go. Oops. Then you can see if I zoom out, you can see that you get a 3D effect. Andrian is saying, thank you for your inspiration, Tim. My pleasure. Thanks for being here. Udan is saying, which one is easier for you, CorelDRAW or Inkscape? I used CorelDRAW many years ago, probably before most of you were born. I worked for a sign company, and CorelDRAW was the only software that sign makers used at the time. But I would say Inkscape is infinitely easier than CorelDRAW. CorelDRAW's got so many options. Absolutely amazing software, but for ease of use, I would say Inkscape every day. Inkscape you can just pick up, and within 15 to 30 minutes you can be creating art with Inkscape. Not so much easier with CorelDRAW, amazing as it is. Yeah, that's my personal opinions are valid. Yeah, ask away, no problem. Yeah, I'll always give my opinions. Yeah, absolutely, no problem. Yeah, CorelDRAW is an amazing piece of software, crazily expensive, which means it's out of the reach of most people. And one of the things that makes Inkscape so phenomenal is the fact that it's free for everyone forever. No conditions. You just pick it up, you use it, you share it, give it away to other people. There's not many other softwares out there that you can do that with, apart from Krita, GIMP. Yeah, proprietary software, that is the main drawback. That it's not accessible to everyone in the world. But yeah. Yeah, no problem. Well then, no problem. My pleasure. Yeah, my art journey has been a bit of a weird one, to be honest. I studied art at secondary school level, achieved an A grade in O level, which was the highest that you could get at that point. I didn't go on to university or anything like that. I just got a job straight from school. Ended up working for a sign company, and my job at the time was to draw fonts. So back then, we're talking mid 1980s. Computers weren't really a thing, so everything had to be done by hand. So I worked in the drawing office, and I had to draw all the letters for every single sign that was made. So we had to hand draw the letters, I had to study the fonts, I had to memorize the fonts. I studied under a sign writer, taught me to sign write, and it was the amount of fonts that I had to memorize. It's crazy. It's amazing that the human mind can do that. So I did that for many years. I then moved on to perspex sign making. I then progressed on to stainless steel sign making. I then moved on to managing a sign company. And then I left that and I worked in a warehouse for many years and didn't touch anything to do with art for probably 15 years. And then I discovered Inkscape, and I've not looked back since, and it's been amazing. I absolutely love digital art. It's really good. I always worry that the silences are too long. What's your favorite tool in Inkscape and why? My favorite, well, it's going to be the calligraphy tool. Absolutely. I think that tool is amazing. And but I also love the work that Javier has done with the pencil tool, giving that pressure sensitivity in 1.0 and onwards, and that's amazing. The fact that he could introduce that, and so I will be using that a lot more. As I said at the beginning, the only reason I'm not using 1.0 today, Inkscape 1.0 today, is because the eraser tool is broken in that version. And I rely heavily on the eraser tool for chopping off lines and cleaning up artwork. But as I said, Martin's fixed that, and so that will be back in the next release of Inkscape. And so I will be moving on to using 1.1. I'm really looking forward to that. I've been trialing that over the last couple of days, looking into what works and what doesn't work, and bug reporting and stuff, and it's looking really, really good. Inkscape is coming on so much, and our developers are so talented. They really are. They are very, very talented people. They don't get the recognition they deserve. They really don't. They are superheroes in my book. But yeah, to answer your question, sorry, I went off on a ramble again. Yeah, the calligraphy tool. I also absolutely love the gradient tool. I use that an awful lot. So yeah, is it the calligraphy tool or the gradient tool? I think gradient tool actually wins. Yeah, definitely. Controversial. Ah, that was a surprise. Yeah. To be honest, I love pretty much all the tools in Inkscape. But yeah, if you had to pin me down to one, I would say the gradient tool, because I absolutely love the effects that you can create with that. It's so powerful. Any more questions? And don't worry, no question is silly. Looks like we might have come to the end of questions. I don't think there's anything more that I can tell you guys, to be honest, other than just have a go. Create something wonderful. Put it out in the world. Don't be frightened to share your art. Just as there will always be someone better than you, there will always be someone who looks to you for inspiration. It doesn't matter where you are on the art ladder. There will always be someone that looks at what you do and goes, wow, wish I could do that. So put your art out there, share it with the world, make someone happy. No problem, Michelle. Well, if there's no more answers, then Rania, I think we could probably call that a day. I've
Hello?
Hey there.
Oh, sorry. By the way, anyone still have a question for them? I will check the YouTube comment first.
Okay.
It's from Herbanu. Really agree with you about no cheating in digital drawing. Really nice quote.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. It's something I really believe in. That. Thank you for that. Yeah. It's something I really believe in. That. And this was something I was guilty of at the beginning. So I do know what I'm talking about. You know, it's so easy to copy a picture and reproduce one-to-one a photograph or someone else's drawing, but you're not learning how to draw yourself. It's so easy to take the easy option, but it's so hard to draw yourself. And it does take patience. It does take commitment, but the results you get at the end of the day, that's you on the page or on the digital screen. That's you. That's part of you. And it's so much better. You get more satisfaction from creating something yourself than just copying what someone else has created or a photograph. Put the work in and you will benefit from it. You really will.
Totally agree with you. Because yeah, some some newcomer in term of design graphic, I think, always search how to do that easily or quickly or something like that. We without understand about the basic process or basic knowledge about drawing and about art, of course.
Um, there is no quick, easy way.
Hmm.
It's art is a long road. Most professional artists, the biggest artists in the world that earns the most money, will tell you they are still learning every single day. There's always something new to learn, and you will never be satisfied with where you are. Other people will look at your art and go, wow, that's amazing. Wish I could do that. You will look at your art and go, ugh, wish I'd done that better. And that's true for every single artist in the world. You will never be satisfied with the level that you're at. Other people are the judge of your art, not you. So if you don't like your art, but other people are saying, wow, that's amazing, it's amazing, take it. Because other people looking at your art aren't seeing it the way you see it. If they enjoy it, let them enjoy it and take that for what it is. It's a compliment. But you will always, always strive to be better than you are. You know, even if you're selling paintings for millions of pounds, you will still look at that painting and say, wish I did that better. All artists are the same. But that's a good thing, being able to look at your art and critique your own art. That's the biggest step in getting better at art, is when you can look at your own artwork and see the mistakes. That's when you start to get better. If you look at your artwork and you can't see what you've done wrong, you've still got a lot of learning to do. But don't give up. Art is a journey. It's a never-ending journey. You never get good. You just get better.
Great thing.
That was a really good question.
Anyone here? Still any question for Tim? Maybe the time is will be about 5 minutes left, maybe.
Yeah, sure. Any question at all? If you want to know anything about my art, the way I do art, anything about me, anything about my involvement with Inkscape, anything at all, just let me know.
I will say in Bahasa maybe, so they will. Maybe if they have a question in Bahasa, I will translate it as I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Silakan teman-teman kalau misalkan ada pertanyaan, kalau misalkan mau disampaikan dalam bahasa Indonesia, nanti saya coba buat bantu translate. Kayak aja ada yang mau nanya tapi masih bingung, aduh, ngerti apaan nih? Nah, silakan. Ada yang mau tanya? By the way, Tim, check.
Yep.
Check. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Here is very poor connection today. I don't know why.
No worries. No worries.
By the way, Tim, thank you. Oh, how long you have been using Inkscape from Wildan Akifin?
I first discovered Inkscape about 2010, so 10 years. But I spent the first couple of years literally just learning how to use the tools, really, just copying pictures, tracing over the top of things, doing all the things you shouldn't do, until I learned what you should do. So I wasted a lot of time really by tracing and thinking that's what you did, because a lot of the videos that I saw online on YouTube were of people tracing pictures, and I thought that's what you do. Until I started studying art and then realized that that was making me go backwards, because I wasn't learning how to express myself, how to put what I wanted to put on paper or the digital screen. So yeah, I wasted the first couple of years really, but I did learn how to use the tools. That's really important. Playing around with Inkscape, learn what the tools do, and then just have a project that you want to create, a picture you want to create, and just do it. And don't worry what it comes out like, because the next picture will be better. The one after that will be better. Every picture you create will be better than the last. So just create pictures all the time, and don't worry. The picture you create today doesn't have to be your best. The picture you create tomorrow will be your best until the next day comes, and then that will be the best. So you progress as time goes on. But just produce pictures and put your work out there. Join groups like our Facebook group or the Inkscape forum. Display your work. Say, hey, this is what I'm able to do now. Get feedback from people. And feedback, critique is really hard to take, because some people will be blunt. They will be honest. But it's the blunt, honest opinion that you want. It's the hardest to take, but it's the one you want. When people say, this doesn't look right, you should have done this. Don't go, oh my God, that's the best I can do. You go, thanks very much. I will look at that for the next piece. And learn from it. Be humble. Take people's opinions, because people are answering you because they're invested in you. They want you to get better. It might come across as being rude or arrogant. They're just being honest. What you don't want is people saying, oh, wow, you're amazing. That's brilliant. That's perfect. There's nothing more you could do to that. That doesn't help you. What helps you is honesty. When people say, this doesn't look right, that doesn't work, try this, try that. That's the comments you want. Those are the comments you want to listen to and learn from it and improve. So be humble, take critique, take comments, put your work out there. That's the fastest way you learn. It really is. So you can learn more from a group of fellow artists working in the same medium as you than you will by just putting it out on general Facebook and getting 500 people clicking like on it. That doesn't help you. That doesn't help you improve. Be humble, take critique and learn from it, and you will get better. You really will. But that was really hard for me to understand at the beginning. I did get upset at the beginning. I did think that, you know, people were personally attacking me. Excuse me. But they're not. They're invested in you. They want you to get better. That's why they're taking the time to look at your drawing, study it, then comment on it. So you've got to remember that every comment that you get means someone has actually looked into your artwork. They've studied your artwork. And that is a huge compliment. So just remember that if someone comments on your work, they've looked at it. They've not glanced at it and just clicked like and moved on. They've studied it. That's a big compliment, that they've taken the time to look at it. So if someone then comments on your work, they really appreciate what you've done and they want you to get better. But it is hard to accept the critiques at the beginning. Now I love it. I really encourage people to do their worst, to really throw the comments at me, because I know I'm going to get better because of it. But when you first start out, it is hard. I do appreciate that. But just know that people want you to get better.
Oh, thank you, Tim. Thank you very much. And I think it also happened to me about in around 20 and 13 or 15 maybe when I know
Yeah.
you first time. You comment and
Yeah.
comment at my work, and it's really work for me. I make a new piece again and again and until now, and it's it's moment to me say thank you for you personally.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I'm glad I could help.
By the way, I think we have to end this conference because the time is late night here. And thank you, Tim. Or Michelle, maybe you wanna say something?
Sure. Sorry, I couldn't join you for the entire conference, but I can see, Tim, the work that you've done, and the bit I've been present for has been really, really insightful. Thank you, Rania, and to everybody who helped organize and who showed up. Maybe this is the beginning and the end of this conference, but the beginning of some more wonderful sharing around the world. So pleased to be able to see this happening. And thank you, Tim, for your time and your talent, and for sharing the insights. I learned a lot about you, calligraphy and sign painting and all sorts of great stuff.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Michelle, and thank you everyone that joined in this workshop. And hope we can do other workshop with other talent maybe. And I hope we also can make some workshop in next month, maybe out in January and next year also. And see you. And again, thank you to everyone. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks very much. I was really pleased to be involved, and thanks for having me.
You're always welcome. Baik teman-teman, terima kasih udah join di workshop pada malam hari ini. Semoga kita masih bisa ketemu di kesempatan mendatang. Semoga aja sih di bulan-bulan depan juga kita bisa ngadain lagi dengan narasumber yang beda. Dan saya pribadi sih nyaranin kalau misalkan teman-teman ngerasa ini bermanfaat, silahkan share ke media sosial dan berikan masukan juga apa aja yang kiranya mestinya diperbaikin. Kalau misalkan ada yang kurang-kurang, silahkan disampaikan ke para admin di Gimpscape. Saya Rani Amina, mohon maaf apabila ada kesalahan. Dan terima kasih, selamat malam, sampai jumpa.